Welcome back, everybody. How's everybody doing? Hopefully, everybody is doing awesome. My name is Gabriel, in case you didn't know. All right, sorry. I got kind of a new program. It's not really a new setup, but it's a new program. So, trying to get everything worked out. Anyway, welcome back to the Complete Discipleship Evangelism 48 lesson course. We are on level 2, as you guys can see at the top here. It's kind of cool little thing. I can highlight it now. So I'm going to start highlighting it. Maybe. Anyway, just something cheesy, but. All right, so lesson 8. We are on lesson 8, Hindrances to Healing by Andrew Womack. I'm going to get to the text. Here we go. In the previous lesson, I talked about the fact that it is God's will to heal, and that healing is part of the atonement. Much more could be said, because even if you accept it and have seen it in the scriptures, it still raises a lot of questions, such as, if it's God's will to heal us, why isn't everyone healed? There are many reasons, and I'm just scratching the surface on the things I know. There is a lot of information that I simply am not able to get into here, but if it's God's will to heal, I want to address part of why people are not healed. One of the reasons is ignorance. You cannot operate in something you don't know or understand, and in my own life, that certainly has been true. I was trained to believe God's will automatically came to pass, that I had no authority, power, or say-so in it. So through my ignorance, a number of things happened. My dad died when I was 12 years old, and 2 or 3 people had died in my presence by the time I was 21. I was praying for all of them to be healed, but I didn't see healing manifest. Not because it wasn't God's will, but because of ignorance on my part. Ignorance is a reason why things happen, but it's not an excuse. It's like the law of gravity. A person could say, well, I didn't realize that if I walked off a 10-story building, it was going to kill me. You don't have to realize it to have the full impact of the law. You don't have to realize it to have the full impact of the law to work against you. People are ignorant about some of God's laws. They don't know how his healing system works, so ignorance is killing a lot of people. Man, that was a horrible reading job, guys. I'm sorry. Another thing that can hinder us from receiving healing is sin. It really upsets people when you say that, because they interpret what you are saying as all sickness is a result of some sin on our part, which is not true. That's not what I'm saying. In John 9, there was an instance where Jesus was coming out of the temple, and his disciples pointed out a man there who was born blind. His disciples said in verse 2, Master, who did sin, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? In other words, they were trying to relate his sickness directly to sin, asking if it was his sin or his parents' sin that caused this sickness to come on him. Jesus' answer was that neither of them had sinned. That's not saying that the parents or the son had never sinned, but that it wasn't their sin that directly caused his blindness. It's untrue to say that all sickness is related to sin, but it's also untrue to say that sin is not one of the factors. In John 5, there is an instance when Jesus was at the pool of Bethesda, and he healed a man supernaturally. There were multitudes in that place, and only one person was healed. Later, the chapter shows that the man didn't know who healed him, when the Jews asked him in verse 12, what man was that which said unto thee, take up thy bed and walk? Verses 13 and 14 continue. And he that was healed knew not who it was, for Jesus had conveyed himself away, a multitude being in that place. Afterward Jesus findeth him in the temple, and said unto him, Behold, thou art made whole. Sin no more, lest a worse thing come unto thee. Jesus said right here that sin would cause something worse than his paralysis to come upon him. He tied the result of sickness to sin. He also said in John 9 that it wasn't because of anybody's sin that the man was born blind. Some things just happen naturally, but there are times when sickness, disease, or problems can be a direct result of sin. Even in such cases, it doesn't mean God is the one who is doing these things to us. Take, for instance, a person who lives a homosexual lifestyle, which is a perversion of nature. The human body is not made to live that way. Sexually communicated diseases come from that lifestyle. God is not the author of these diseases. It's just nature rebelling because it's not set up to live that way. For instance, if you go out and eat the wrong food, your body will respond, and it's not God doing it to you. There are natural laws, natural factors here. So it is true that sin can be one of the reasons people aren't healed. If there's a known sin in your life and you are believing God for healing, you need to stop the sin because through it, you're giving Satan a direct access that's hindering you from receiving what God is doing in your life. Romans 6:16 says, "Know ye not that to whom ye yield yourselves servants to obey, his servant ye are to whom ye obey, whether of sin unto death or of obedience unto righteousness." That's not saying that Satan becomes master in the sense that you lose your salvation and go to hell, but it means that whether you are a Christian or not, if you're out living in sin, you're giving Satan an inroad into your life. John 10:10 says that the thief comes for no other purpose except to steal, kill, and destroy. But Jesus came to give you life so you've got Jesus trying to bring his life and health to you. But you've also got Satan trying to make you sick. If through sin you're yielding yourself to Satan, you are empowering him and giving him an opportunity in your life. You can pray and ask God for healing all you want, but your actions are allowing the devil to come in and bring sickness. So if you are living in sin, you need to stop it. I need to add that you could become so introspective that you would say, well, I'm always less than what I should be. And get to the place where even though you believe God can heal you, you believe he won't because you don't deserve it. That certainly is wrong too. None of us are ever going to obtain healing from God because we deserve it. God's never had anyone qualified working for him yet. So you don't need to associate God moving in your life only to your performance or your holiness. It needs to be based on what Jesus has done for you and your faith in him. At the same time, you can't ignore your actions and yield yourself to the devil without him hindering you. You'll see healing work much easier, much better in your life if you repent and quit anything you're doing that would give Satan an inroad into your life. Another factor that concerns healing that some people don't think much about is the negativity and unbelief of other people that can affect you. One of the classic examples of this is in Mark 6, where Jesus was in his hometown, and the people didn't respect him because because they remembered him as a little boy. They knew his father and mother, brothers and sisters, and didn't respect him the way some people did. They came against him and criticized him. Mark 6:4-6 says, "A prophet is not without honor, but in his own country and among his own kin and in his own house. And he could there do no mighty work, save that he laid his hands upon a few sick folk and healed them. And he marveled because of their unbelief." This doesn't say that Jesus wouldn't do any mighty works, but that he couldn't. Here is Jesus, Son of God, who came to earth as a man who had no lack in his faith. And there certainly wasn't any inroad of sin in his life. Yet he was limited to what he could do for other people because of their unbelief. Put this together with Matthew 13:58, where it says, "And he did not many mighty works there because of their unbelief." And we see that Jesus, who had no limitations in himself and certainly no sin in his life to give Satan an inroad, was limited in what he could do because of the people around him. This is really important to understand. It is God's will to heal everyone all the time. If you believe that, you might possibly make the mistake of going to a hospital and trying to empty it of every sick person because you believe it's God's will for them to be healed. It is God's will for them to be healed, but He will not move against their own will. God will protect their right to be sick, their right not to be healed. No one can force them to be healed, and they can't get healed off of someone else's faith. Someone's faith can help them if they are struggling, but no one can do it for them. You can push a car when it's in neutral, but you can't push a car in park or reverse. If a person is set against healing, you cannot overcome it. Because of this, you can't empty a hospital or go into a church service and see every person healed without their cooperation. There's so much more that could be said about this. When Jesus healed people, even raising the dead, he would go up to someone and say, "Weep not." He would tell a mother not to weep and then raise her son from the dead. Somebody's faith has to be used somewhere. There needs to be faith on our part, and there are so many other things involved in healing. I've discussed just a few here, and hopefully they will help you. But one of the main things you need to get out of this is that God is faithful. It is His will for you to be healed, but you have to learn how to cooperate with Him. He can't do it for you. He has to do it through you. It will come from the inside of you. I pray that these things will help you start yielding yourself to allow the power of God to flow through you and walk in His supernatural health. All right. So that was a pretty long read. And I apologize. I kind of felt like I read it weird at times. And those times I felt like were either I was confused on the sentence, and so it like my brain got caught up in trying to understand if I was reading it correctly. And again, that's kind of why I don't like the King James version, and unfortunately that's what this is, it references. But that would be the only thing that I would change, because I don't know, you have modern English that we're reading, and then you're referencing the old English that doesn't really make sense. So anyway, I apologize, but I got confused on it. So, all right, so I'm going to try something new. As you guys know that have listened to the other episodes, I've tried to always use my Bible. And today I'm just going to try something different and just see how effective I can be. And if it cuts down a significant time, and I'll have to kind of, balance that out. But, okay, so again, if you're new here, the reason why I even, brought that up is because, again, all the scripture that it references is in the King James version on these questions. And so I prefer to read it in the NIV version. That's just my preference. And so hopefully when we're doing this, get your own Bibles and get the one you prefer, so that helps you understand the questions, more. Okay, so we're going to go to Matthew 8:17. So it says, "This was to fulfill what was spoken through the prophet Isaiah. He took up our infirmities and bore our diseases." To bear our diseases. Let me go down here. We're going to go to the answers. As always, guys, I encourage you to read, know their answers, but I encourage you to do your own kind of thought process, kind of think through, this is this guy's opinion or these guys' opinion. And I'm not saying it's incorrect, but, as we saw before, they asked a question, I believe it was in the last episode about the snakes, and they left that one completely out, and so I understand, because they got to be careful in their reading of it, and what they, reference and stuff. But, it doesn't mean that the thought isn't there, and we don't need to dig deeper than what these guys are putting out. So anyway, it's just my encouragement for you. Okay, so he took our infirmities and carried away our diseases. So yeah, read Hosea. So let me see here. Hosea 4, and 6. My people are destroyed from lack of knowledge. Some people are not healed because of ignorance, lack of knowledge. I mean, I don't know. I guess I can see that. I mean, I agree with they're not healed because of ignorance, but I don't necessarily believe that verse, like, that's a stretch in my opinion. Anyway, that's just me. So I like the verse, my people are destroyed from lack of knowledge. And I think that's huge. Because especially in today's day and age where there's so much misinformation and you know, everybody thinks they know everything. The more you know, the more you can kind of discern those people that really don't know what they're talking about. But anyway, that's a whole nother subject. So we're gonna go on to 3. We're gonna read. Okay, so we're gonna go to John 9. So John 9, 1 through 3. All right. As he went along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Neither this man nor his parents sinned, said Jesus, but this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him. So, what did the disciples think caused this man's blindness? And as we can see, sin. All right. So, was their thinking correct? No. Well, I agree with that. Anyway, so we'll go on to read John 5:4. I'm trying not to get, I don't want to make this a complaint session about what they're, this isn't a review, so I don't want to dispute everything. So hopefully you guys understand when I said that about the last one, that was just an opinion piece that I wanted to share. Okay, so John 5, verse 14. Oops. Okay. Later, Jesus found him at the temple and said to him, see, you are well again. Stop sinning or something worse may happen to you. Sin does open the door for sickness, but not always. Besides sickness, what else could sin produce in an individual? Many things worse than sickness, even death, according to Romans 6:23. Heck. All right. So I made that weird little noise, but I had to get a drink. So I muted the microphone. All right. Let's go next one. We are on number 5 right here. So we're going to read Romans 5. Romans 5:12 through 14. Therefore, and so I'm going to reiterate this because I brought this up in one of my episodes, not a discipleship lesson. I might have brought it up there before too, but in one of the videos I've done. But, whenever you see a therefore, you always want to ask yourself, what is it there for? Because the author is trying to bring special attention to that. So in verse 12, it starts out, therefore. So what is it there for? And it's there to tell us that just as sin entered the world through one man and death through sin, and in this way, death came to all people because all sinned. To be sure, sin was in the world before the law was given. To be sure, sin was in the world before the law was given, but sin is not charged against anyone's account where there is no law. Nevertheless, death reigned from the time of Adam to the time of Moses, even over those who did not sin by breaking a command, as did Adam, who is a pattern of the one to come. If sin is not always the cause of sickness, what could be another possible cause? The fall. Adam, through his transgression, introduced sin and sickness into the human race. Okay. All right, we'll go on to the next one. Acts. Oops. Okay, so we're going to Acts 10:38. All right. How God anointed Jesus of Nazareth with the Holy Spirit and power, and how he went around doing good and healing all who were under the power of the devil, because God was with him. Right? Yeah. According to Acts 10:38, sickness can be caused by being oppressed of the devil. All right, we're going to read Matthew 13. We're on number 7. Matthew 13:58. 13:58. And he did not do many miracles there because of their lack of faith. So healing can be hindered by unbelief. And then we're going to read James 5:15. All right, so James 5:15 says, "And the prayer offered in faith will make the sick person well. The Lord will raise them up. If they have sinned, they will be forgiven." Read James 5:15, what will save the sick? The prayer of faith. All right, there it is. It's a wrap on that one. Hindrances to healing. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. I know, I don't know. I know these episodes can kind of get, boring, especially if it's not something we're gung-ho about. But I think in the overall grand scheme of things, I want everybody to just, kind of learn things that we don't normally talk about, don't normally think about. And hopefully this draws out more interest. I know it will for me. I'm going to do a spiritual check in my life. And now that I have more of an understanding on the hindrances to healing, I had shoulder surgery and, luckily I've been good. But I've learned more. I guess I've learned more recently how important health of your body is because of that. And now I have, a situation going on with my hip that's been lingering since I coached soccer, probably, 5 to 7 years ago. And maybe 3 to 4 years ago. Anyway, but, so that's why I'm really doing this, is to encourage other people to take a look at each episode. There's a different topic, and how do you rate on that? And it's not to down anybody or, make you feel guilty. And, that's not what this is about. This is about getting better as people. And when you understand, why the change is necessary, then change becomes easier, over time, And so now that I understand, okay, I'm praying for healing, but I'm not getting healing. So is there a hindrance in my life? So that would be the first thing, not necessarily anything that I'm doing, which it probably is, knowing me. But just, trying to find out, okay, if it's really not me, then what else is it, And I think that's all part of, having that kingdom, the kingdom on earth, is to live and to get yourself better. Because when you're getting yourself, when you're making the best version of you, change isn't tough. And I feel like that's what we're here for, is to build the character up to take us, to the next stage, whatever exactly that is, I guess. But anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you so much, again, for the encouragement as well. Hopefully this is challenging everybody. Hopefully this is encouraging you guys to get, conversation started. And, I'd love to hear from somebody in the comments, just to let me know how things are going. So, anyway, guys, I hope you guys have a great day after listening to this episode. Be blessed, and we'll see you on the next one.